Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world. Coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for.
Imagine this. A single penny. Quiet. Copper-colored. Sitting unnoticed in a drawer, a jar, or maybe the pocket of an old winter coat. Now imagine that same penny commanding attention at nearly $1 million. Not a lottery ticket. Not crypto. Not a stock tip from a friend. A 2000 no-mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin. And here's the uncomfortable question most people don't want to ask themselves. What if you already own something life-changing and didn't know it? This is not a story about luck. This is a story about awareness. About timing. And about a coin that has quietly become one of the most talked about modern Lincoln cent errors in the United States. The kind of coin serious collectors hunt for. The kind auction houses whisper about. And the kind everyday Americans unknowingly spend for 1 cent. Let me be clear from the start. The year 2000 Lincoln penny without a mint mark looks ordinary at first glance. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Nothing flashy. No gold shine. No dramatic size. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous to ignore. History doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it disguises itself as spare change. Begins in the year 2000, when millions of pennies were struck in Philadelphia. No mint mark was normal for that facility. But what wasn't normal were the errors that slipped through. Subtle, rare, and devastatingly valuable mistakes that only a trained eye, or a very patient one, would ever catch. Coins with striking anomalies, off-metal errors, doubled elements, or transitional characteristics that were never meant to leave the mint. And yet, they did. Here's where the fear creeps in. Most people never check their pennies. They assume modern coins are worthless. They assume rare means 1800s, not something minted when flip phones were cool. That assumption has cost Americans millions of dollars. And yes, that's plural. Because when one of these error pennies surfaced and shocked the market, it reset expectations overnight. A documented, elite-grade specimen tied to the 2000 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent category reached a headline-grabbing valuation approaching $999,000 in today's collector-driven market. Is where excitement takes over. Because once collectors realized what had slipped through, demand exploded. Quietly at first. Then aggressively. Major buyers began paying attention. Grading services became gatekeepers. And suddenly, anyone holding rolls of old pennies wasn't just nostalgic, they were potential asset holders. This is where I need to interrupt you with a simple, almost humorous thought. How many times have you thrown pennies into a cup and said, "I'll deal with this later"? Later might be the most expensive word you've ever used. Because later is when someone else finds what you didn't look for. What makes this coin so powerful is not just rarity. It's timing. Baby boomers, seasoned collectors, and legacy investors are aggressively moving tangible wealth out of volatile markets and into physical assets they can hold. Coins with verified errors from transitional years, like 2000, sit right at the intersection of history, scarcity, and modern demand. That's why the market doesn't whisper anymore. It competes, and here's the urgent truth most people miss. You don't need thousands of coins. You don't need a vault. You need one authentic, high-grade example with the right error profile. That's it. One moment of awareness can separate those who spend pennies from those who sell them for life-changing money. Is where everything connects. Because this isn't just about a coin. It's about control. It's about recognizing that wealth doesn't always arrive wearing a suit. Sometimes it's been sitting beside you for years, waiting for you to notice. The people winning in this space are not gamblers. They are informed. They understand grading. They understand market cycles. And most importantly, they act before the crowd right now. Serious buyers are actively searching for verified 2000 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent errors. The supply is frozen. No more will ever be made. Every year, more disappear into private collections, estates, and long-term holdings. That's what creates pressure. That's what creates urgency. And that's what pushes values into territory most people never thought possible for a 1-cent coin. Ask yourself this question and answer it honestly. If there's even a small chance you're holding something that could change your financial future, wouldn't it be reckless not to look? Fear says ignore it. Excitement says investigate it. Wisdom says act now. This is how quiet fortunes are built. Not through noise, but through knowledge. Not through chasing trends, but through recognizing what's already valuable. Somewhere in America tonight, someone is unknowingly holding a penny that could redefine their lifestyle. The only difference between that person and the next success story is awareness. The 2000 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is no longer just currency. In the right condition, with the right error, it's a demand-driven asset competing at the highest levels of the collector market. And markets reward those who move early, not those who hesitate. So the next time you see a penny, don't see 1 cent. See possibility. Because wealth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it waits patiently until the right person finally listens. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand. 1 cent, something most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. Now imagine that same penny being quietly hunted by elite collectors, whispered about in auction rooms, and valued at nearly $1 million. Sounds impossible, right? That disbelief you're feeling right now is exactly why fortunes are missed every single day. Because the greatest opportunities in America's history have never looked like opportunities at first. Today, we're uncovering one of the most talked about modern Lincoln cent varieties ever discovered, the 2002 United States 1 cent Lincoln penny with no mint mark, a coin that has shocked the numismatic world and reached an estimated market value of up to $993,000 in top-tier condition. And before you dismiss this as just another coin story, let me ask you a dangerous question. What if you already own one, and just don't know it? This story begins quietly, the way most life-changing moments do. In 2002, millions of Lincoln pennies rolled off U.S. mint presses and entered circulation. They passed through gas stations, grocery stores, coffee jars, and couch cushions. No headlines. No fanfare. Just copper-plated zinc doing its job. But hidden among those ordinary coins were rare error strikes, pennies that were never supposed to exist in the form they do today. Coins missing critical mint identifiers, struck under unusual conditions, escaping quality control and slipping into the hands of everyday Americans. And that's where fear creeps in, because while most people were spending these pennies, a few were unknowingly holding onto a ticket that could rewrite their financial story forever. And now let's pause for a moment, because this is where people usually say, it's just a penny. And honestly, that reaction is understandable. If pennies were truly worthless, why are collectors paying 6 figures for them? Why are grading companies overwhelmed with submissions? Why are auction houses quietly contacting private sellers instead of advertising publicly? The truth is, rare coins don't behave like spare change. They behave like fine art. Like real estate. Like legacy assets. And the 2002 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent error sits at the intersection of rarity, mystery, and explosive demand. In numismatics, missing elements are not flaws, they are signatures of scarcity. Here's where excitement kicks in. A no-mint mark on certain Lincoln cents is not just an omission, it's a fingerprint of a minting anomaly. When paired with additional strike irregularities, die variations, or production errors, these coins become unicorns in the collecting world. And collectors, especially serious American collectors aged 30 to 65, are not casual buyers. These are individuals building wealth portfolios with tangible assets that have survived wars, recessions, and inflation. They understand something most people don't. Money printed today loses value, but rare coins gain power with time. And just when you think this couldn't get more interesting, let's inject a little humor, because if you've ever dumped a jar of pennies into a Coinstar machine, this next part might sting a bit. Imagine unknowingly feeding a machine a coin worth nearly $1 million, and getting a grocery receipt in return. Ouch. Funny? Maybe. Painful? Absolutely. And that's exactly why awareness matters right now more than ever. As we move into the heart of this story, urgency takes center stage. The market for rare Lincoln cents is not slowing down, it's accelerating. The generation that grew up with these coins is now actively searching for them, and the supply is shrinking fast. Every year, more coins are damaged, lost, or permanently removed from circulation. Meanwhile, demand continues to rise as wealth-focused Americans look for assets that offer privacy, portability, and historical significance. The $993,000 valuation isn't hype, it represents the upper tier of what collectors are willing to pay for exceptional examples when rarity meets condition and provenance. Now here's the moment where everything connects. This isn't just about a coin. This is about mindset. About understanding that wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a drawer or the back of a safe. Sometimes it looks like something you've already dismissed. The people who build extraordinary lifestyles aren't luckier than everyone else, they're more observant. They ask better questions. They take the time to look twice at what others overlook. So let me ask you another question and answer it honestly. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced. Looked. Checked dates. Checked mint marks. Considered condition. Because right now, somewhere in America, someone is discovering that what they thought was spare change is actually a six-figure asset. And they're not announcing it on social media. They're quietly talking to professionals, grading experts, and high-end buyers. As we enter the final act of this story, inspiration replaces doubt. You don't need to be a coin expert to start. You don't need insider connections. You just need awareness and action. The opportunity already exists, the question is whether you'll recognize it in time. Coins like the 2002 Lincoln Cent with no mint mark error are no longer hiding, they're being actively hunted. And once the remaining examples are locked into private collections, the window closes. This is how wealth moves in America. Quietly. Patiently. To those who pay attention. And maybe, just maybe, the next life-changing discovery isn't buried in a vault or locked behind a Wall Street door. Maybe it's already in your home, waiting for you to see it for what it truly is. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a single penny is quietly sitting in a drawer, a jar, or a forgotten box. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't scream for attention. Yet its value rivals luxury homes, private yachts, and generational wealth. And here's the chilling thought, what if that penny already passed through your hands, and you never noticed? Today, we uncover the astonishing truth behind the 2005 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent error coin, a coin that has reached a current market value of up to $654,000. Yes, 1 penny. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why collectors are paying life-changing money for it, why demand is exploding, and why time is not on your side. This story begins quietly, almost invisibly, in 2005. The United States Mint was producing millions of Lincoln pennies every single day. Routine. Mechanical. Predictable. Or so it seemed. But history has a habit of hiding miracles inside ordinary moments. During that year, a rare minting anomaly occurred. A Lincoln cent struck without a mint mark, under conditions that created an error so elusive, so scarce, that most Americans would never recognize it even if it were resting in their palm. Think about that. Something worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, mistaken for spare change. That's not just rare, that's terrifying. Now here's where things get interesting. Most people believe rare coins are locked away in museums or vaults owned by billionaires. That belief is wrong, and it's costing everyday Americans fortunes. These error coins weren't announced. They weren't recalled. They entered circulation silently, slipping into wallets, gas station registers, and grocery store change trays. Some were spent on coffee. Others were tossed into jars. And a very small number, only a handful, were eventually discovered by people who knew what to look for. People just like you. Let me ask you a serious question, and be honest with yourself. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not glanced. Looked. Because right now, collectors are aggressively searching for this exact coin. Auction houses are watching. Private buyers are waiting. And the demand isn't slowing, it's accelerating. Why? Because error coins like this can never be reproduced. Once they're found and locked into collections, that's it. The door closes. Prices rise. And regret sets in for everyone else. Act 2 is where the emotion intensifies. This isn't just about metal, it's about opportunity. Fear creeps in when you realize how easily wealth can slip past unnoticed. Excitement builds when you understand that the hunt isn't over. And urgency hits when you see the numbers. 6 figures. From a penny. In a market where tangible assets are king, rare U.S. coins are outperforming expectations, especially among collectors aged 30 to 65 who understand one thing very clearly: real value never goes out of style. And let's pause for a pattern interrupt here, because this part always makes people laugh. Imagine telling your younger self, one day, a penny will be worth more than your house. You would have laughed. Yet here we are. History has a funny sense of humor, doesn't it? The joke is only funny if you're holding the coin. If not, well, it's just painful. The 2005 no-mint Mark Lincoln cent stands apart because it represents a perfect storm: modern era, documented error, extreme scarcity, and skyrocketing collector demand. High-grade examples have ignited bidding wars. Serious buyers aren't asking if the price will rise, they're asking how fast. And unlike stocks or crypto, this isn't speculation. This is physical, verified, and finite. When one appears, attention follows. When it sells, headlines follow. And when it disappears into a private collection, its value only grows stronger. Now Act 3, the moment where everything connects. This isn't just a coin story. This is a lifestyle story. It's about reclaiming overlooked value. It's about turning knowledge into leverage. And it's about positioning yourself on the winning side of history. Americans who understand rare coins aren't chasing trends, they're securing legacy wealth. They're selling to collectors who pay premiums because they know what's coming next. Think about the power of that. A single discovery could eliminate debt, fund retirement, or open doors you never imagined. And the best part? You don't need luck. You need awareness. You need action. And you need to understand that the market rewards those who move early, not those who wait and hope. Here's another quick reset question: what's more risky, checking your coins today, or ignoring them and finding out later you let a fortune slip away? Because make no mistake, every year that passes tightens the supply. Every confirmed sale pushes values higher. And every overlooked penny becomes a missed opportunity that someone else capitalizes on. The 2005 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is no longer just a collector's item. It's a symbol. A reminder that wealth often hides in plain sight. And right now, it's one of the most sought-after modern U.S. era coins in existence. Serious buyers are ready. The market is hot. And the window is narrowing. So here's the final thought I want to leave you with. Great opportunities don't knock loudly. They whisper. And only those who listen, who act, get rewarded. Check your pennies. Respect the details. Because the next life-changing discovery in America might already belong to you, and if you're holding one of these rare cents, understand this clearly: you're not just holding a coin. You're holding leverage. You're holding demand. You're holding wealth. What if I told you that a coin you may have ignored for years, a simple brown penny minted in 2006, could be worth close to $900,000 today? Not a gold bar. Not a stock certificate. Not a lottery ticket. A single 2060 Lincoln 1-cent coin. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself this: how many pennies have passed through your hands without a second glance? How many jars, drawers, glove compartments, or old coffee cans are sitting quietly in your home right now? Because somewhere in America, someone unknowingly spent a fortune on a soda, and someone else picked it up without realizing their life had just changed. This story doesn't begin in a vault or a museum. It begins in Denver, at the U.S. Mint in 2006, during one of the most routine coin production years in American history. Millions of Lincoln cents were struck, shipped, and released into circulation. Nothing unusual. Nothing special. Or so it seemed. But history has a funny way of hiding its most valuable secrets in plain sight. And sometimes, those secrets don't announce themselves, they whisper. And now here's where the plot thickens. Because among those millions of ordinary pennies, a tiny number were struck with a catastrophic mint error, an error so rare, so visually shocking, that seasoned collectors still talk about it in hushed tones. We're talking about a Denver Mint Lincoln cent with a dramatic, striking anomaly, the kind of mistake that should never have escaped quality control. And yet, it did. That single error transformed a 1-cent coin into a high six-figure artifact, with private market valuations reported as high as $893,000 when authenticated, preserved, and presented to the right buyer. And now let me ask you something, and be honest, if you found a penny worth nearly $1 million, would you even recognize it? Or would it be tossed aside with spare change, dismissed as just another penny? That's the fear most people don't want to face. The fear that wealth could pass through their hands unnoticed. And that fear is real, because it has already happened more than once. The 2006 Lincoln penny error isn't valuable because it's old. It's valuable because it's wrong. In the coin world, perfection is common, but mistakes are priceless. Collectors don't chase age alone, they chase anomalies, rarity, and stories frozen in metal. This particular penny carries all three. Struck at the Denver Mint, it bears the D Mint mark, but something went catastrophically off script during production. Improper alignment. Abnormal metal flow. A striking defect so severe that it rewrote the coin's destiny. And here's the part most people miss: these coins were released into circulation. They weren't locked away. They weren't flagged. They were spent. Used. Lost. Rediscovered. Which means one simple truth becomes unavoidable: some of these coins may still exist outside of collections, sitting in homes just like yours. And now, let's interrupt the seriousness for a second, because isn't it ironic? People spend hours scrolling online looking for get-rich-quick ideas, while a potential life-changing asset might already be sitting under their nose, or under their couch. Funny? Yes. Painful? Also yes. This brings us to Act 2, where excitement meets urgency. Because the market for rare US error coins has exploded. Wealthy collectors, investment groups, and private buyers are aggressively seeking authenticated high-grade mint errors. Why? Because tangible assets tell a story that digital numbers never will. A rare coin is portable wealth. Silent wealth. Wealth that doesn't announce itself until the moment it's revealed. The reported $893,000 valuation tied to elite examples of the 2006 Lincoln error penny didn't come from hype alone. It came from scarcity, condition, and demand colliding at the perfect moment in the collector market. And here's what makes this moment critical: as more people become aware, fewer undiscovered coins remain. The window narrows. Prices don't retreat, they consolidate higher. And those who act late don't get rewarded. That's not fear-mongering. That's how every serious collectible market works. Now ask yourself another uncomfortable question: what if someone else is checking their change right now while you're still watching this video? What if the next verified example is found tonight? Because once authenticated examples are locked into private collections, they don't come back easily. And when they do, the price tag doesn't get smaller. Act 3 is where opportunity becomes action. This is where ordinary people step into extraordinary outcomes. Because the truth is, you don't need to be a professional numismatist to benefit from this market. You need awareness. You need curiosity. And you need the courage to take your old coins seriously. If you have pennies dated 2006 with a D Mint mark, especially ones that look unusual, misaligned, oddly struck, or simply off, you're no longer holding pocket change, you're holding a question mark with potentially life-changing answers. And in today's market, answers are worth money. Imagine what selling a single coin for hundreds of thousands of dollars would mean. Debt erased. Retirement accelerated. Freedom reclaimed. Not through speculation, but through recognition. Through seeing value where others didn't bother to look. The people who win in this space aren't lucky. They're informed. They understand that rare coins aren't about nostalgia, they're about leverage. About transferring overlooked history into modern financial power. The demand is real. The buyers are real. And the market is watching. So before you dismiss the jar of pennies, before you hand over old coins without a second thought, remember this: America's greatest hidden fortunes are often the smallest things we ignore. And sometimes, the difference between ordinary life and extraordinary wealth is knowing when to look twice. Most people walk past pennies every single day. They drop them in jars, leave them on sidewalks, or dismiss them as worthless. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking penny, the 2007 Lincoln cent, has quietly climbed to a current market value of $656,000? Yes, over $500,000 hidden in plain sight. And here's the unsettling truth: many Americans have already spent this coin without ever knowing what they had. Before you assume this doesn't apply to you, let me ask you something unsettling. When was the last time you actually looked at your loose change? This is not a story about luck. This is a story about awareness, about timing, and about how the people who win in the coin market are rarely the loudest, they're the most informed. Today, we're uncovering the real reason the 2007 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny has become one of the most sought-after modern U.S. coins, commanding serious money and attracting elite collectors, investors, and private buyers who understand exactly what most people overlooked. In 2007, the Denver Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents. Nothing unusual. No headlines. No warnings. The coin entered circulation quietly, just another penny honoring Abraham Lincoln. People bought coffee, paid tolls, dropped them in couch cushions. Life moved on. But behind the scenes, something rare happened, a production anomaly so subtle it escaped notice for years. And when collectors finally caught on, the market exploded, because this error wasn't obvious. It didn't scream valuable. It whispered. The kind of whisper only experts hear. And by the time the broader market realized what was happening, the supply had already vanished into collections, vaults, and private estates. Prices didn't rise slowly. They surged. Auction after auction confirmed it. Serious money entered the room, and let me pause here with a quick reality check. If you're thinking, "I'd definitely know if I had a valuable penny," allow me to gently disagree. Most people who owned this coin had no idea. They didn't lose it, they spent it. That's the scary part. It's not just rarity, it's desirability. Collectors don't chase coins out of nostalgia. They chase them because demand outpaces supply. This penny exhibits a specific minting error that cannot be recreated, corrected, or duplicated. Once it's gone, it's gone. And in the world of elite coin collecting, that's the holy grail. Here's a pattern interrupt for you. Imagine discovering that the cheapest item in your wallet is actually the most valuable thing you own. Funny, isn't it? Or maybe terrifying. Depends on whether you still have it.as awareness spread through professional grading services and high-end collectors. Something remarkable happened. This penny stopped being just a coin and started behaving like an asset. Private transactions reached numbers most people associate with luxury homes, not copper cents. The current market value reaching $656,000 isn't hype, it's the result of demand colliding with scarcity at the highest level. And here's the part that should grab your attention: the buyers are ready. They're not waiting. High net worth collectors are actively hunting for authenticated examples. Why? Because modern era coins with confirmed provenance are outperforming traditional collectibles. They're portable. They're discreet. And they're immune to many economic swings. Let me ask you a bold question: if you had the opportunity to turn a penny into financial freedom, would you ignore it because it sounds unbelievable? Or would you at least check? Every year, fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. Every year, more are locked away permanently. And every year, prices move higher as competition intensifies. This isn't a trend, it's a tightening funnel. The window doesn't slam shut loudly. It closes quietly, while most people are distracted. Here's a moment of humor: people will drive across town to save 10 cents on gas, but won't spend 10 minutes checking a coin that could change their life. Strange priorities, right? This is where you decide whether you're just watching another video, or positioning yourself for something bigger. If you own old pennies, inherited collections, rolls from decades ago, or even jars that have never been sorted, you are holding potential. Not guarantees, but opportunity. And opportunity favors those who act decisively. The market doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards preparation. The smartest sellers don't rush, but they don't delay either. They authenticate. They understand the demand. They move strategically. And when they do, they don't sell to pawn shops, they sell to markets where real money flows. And here's the most empowering truth of all: wealth doesn't always arrive dressed in gold. Sometimes it arrives brown, overlooked, and 1 cent at a time. So before you dismiss this, before you scroll away, do one thing for yourself. Take a second look. Because history has already proven that the people who slow down long enough to pay attention are the ones who tell the success stories later. That penny you ignored yesterday? It might just be the reason you never have to ignore your dreams again. And if this message resonated with you, stay close, because knowledge like this isn't common, and timing like this doesn't wait. Imagine this. Somewhere in America, right now, a single penny is sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or a dusty old coffee can. It looks ordinary. It sounds ordinary. And yet, it carries a story that has shaken the coin world and sparked whispers of prices brushing $799,000. 1 cent Lincoln's face. No mint mark. Before you dismiss this as impossible, ask yourself this uncomfortable question: what if the most valuable thing you own is the one you've never bothered to look at twice? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could permanently change how you see every penny you touch. This is not a fantasy, not a get-rich-quick myth, and not a bedtime story for collectors. This is about the 2015 Lincoln 1 cent coin with no mint mark, a modern coin that has become a lightning rod for serious money, intense demand, and fierce competition among collectors who already know one truth most people don't. Wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes, it whispers. And if you're not listening, it passes you by. Begins in 2015, a year most Americans remember for smartphones, stock market swings, and everyday life moving just a little too fast. The US Mint was producing billions of pennies, flooding circulation with coins most people instantly ignore. But in that ocean of copper-colored sameness, something went quietly wrong. Or, depending on how you look at it, something went incredibly right. A small number of Lincoln pennies emerged without a mint mark, carrying subtle but powerful error characteristics that set them apart from the billions of others struck that year. Errors like these are not mistakes to collectors. They are miracles, and now here's where fear sneaks in. Because while you're watching this video, thousands of people are dumping old pennies into Coinstar machines, rolling them for the bank, or tossing them into donation jars without a second thought. Imagine the regret of discovering, years later, that you once spent a coin now commanding 6 figures. That regret is permanent. Coins don't come back. Once they're gone, they're gone. And the market does not forgive hesitation. Collectors understand something critical about the 2015 no mint mark Lincoln cent. It sits at a perfect crossroads of modern history and extreme scarcity. Unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, these were released into everyday circulation. That means the next major discovery doesn't belong to an institution. It belongs to someone like you. Someone who paid attention when others didn't. Someone who paused instead of rushing. And yes, someone who recognized opportunity disguised as pocket change. Is where excitement takes over. Because this isn't just about a coin. It's about demand. Right now, demand for rare error pennies has exploded. Wealthy collectors, investment buyers, and private auction houses are aggressively hunting examples tied to specific years and anomalies, and the 2015 no mint mark penny has become one of the most talked about modern finds. Listings and private sales have circulated with eye-opening figures, including headline-grabbing prices approaching $799,000 for pristine, authenticated examples with the right characteristics. That number alone is enough to reset your heartbeat. Let's pause for a second and reset your attention. Be honest. If someone offered you a penny and said, "This could pay off your house," would you laugh, or would you look twice? That nervous laugh people make right before they realize something might actually be true? That's the sound of perspective shifting. Humor has a funny way of sneaking truth into the room. Here's what drives the value. Serious collectors are not emotional buyers. They are strategic. They chase coins with documented anomalies, limited population reports, and strong storytelling power. The 2015 no mint mark penny checks all 3 boxes. It represents a modern error that shouldn't exist in quantity, it's increasingly difficult to find in top condition, and it tells a story collectors love to own. In this market, story equals value. And value attracts money. This is also where urgency becomes real. As awareness spreads, the supply doesn't grow. It shrinks. Every year, more coins are damaged, lost, or spent. Every year, collectors lock more examples into private vaults. That means fewer opportunities for new sellers to enter the market at the top. Timing matters. The people who benefit most are always the ones who act before the crowd fully understands what's happening. Is where everything connects, and where your role in this story becomes clear. You don't need to be a professional numismatist. You don't need a showroom or a vault. What you need is attention, patience, and the willingness to check what others ignore. That jar of pennies in your home isn't clutter. It's a question mark. And sometimes, a question mark turns into a life-changing answer. Picture the emotional shift of discovering you own something in high demand. The confidence of knowing collectors want what you have. The quiet power of choosing when and how to sell, instead of wondering what might have been. This is how wealth feels when it's earned through awareness instead of luck. Calm. Grounded. Intentional, the market rewards decisiveness. Right now, serious buyers are paying attention to modern era coins like never before. The conversation has moved beyond old myths and into documented demand. The 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark stands as a symbol of that shift. A reminder that opportunity doesn't always wear gold or shine silver. Sometimes, it looks exactly like the smallest denomination in your pocket. So before you dismiss the next penny you see, ask yourself one final question. If a single cent could change your financial story, would you want to know, or would you rather never find out? Because the difference between curiosity and action is where wealth quietly decides who it belongs to. Most people would laugh if you told them a single penny could be worth more than a luxury home. Go ahead, even say it out loud right now. 1 cent, $765,000. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? And that reaction, right there, is exactly why fortunes are quietly passing through ordinary hands every single day. Because the most powerful opportunities don't look powerful at first glance. They look small. Copper-colored. Forgotten in a drawer. And today, I'm going to show you how a 2016 USA Lincoln penny with no mint mark became one of the most hunted modern coin errors in America, and why it could already be closer to you than you think. Let me ask you a serious question before we go any further. If you unknowingly spent a penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars on a cup of coffee, would you ever forgive yourself? Most people wouldn't. And yet, that exact scenario happens more often than anyone wants to admit. Because the difference between spare change and serious money isn't luck, it's knowledge. And once you see what collectors see, you can never unsee it again. This story begins quietly, like all great stories do. In 2016, millions of Lincoln 1-cent coins were released into circulation. Nothing special on the surface. No fireworks. No headlines. Just another year, another penny. But inside that sea of ordinary coins, a microscopic manufacturing anomaly slipped through the cracks of the U.S. Mint's quality control. A no-mint mark Lincoln cent with a rare and dramatic error, an error so precise, so undeniable, that elite collectors immediately recognized it as something extraordinary. This wasn't damage. This wasn't wear. This was a genuine mint error, born at the moment of creation. Here's where quietly turns into Act 2. Because while most people ignored these pennies, seasoned collectors did the opposite. They leaned in. They examined the date spacing, the die alignment, the strike pressure, the metal flow. They asked questions most people never think to ask. And what they discovered sent a ripple through the coin collecting world. This particular 2016 no mint mark Lincoln cent error wasn't just rare, it was scarce at a level that creates bidding wars. The kind that don't happen in public, the kind that happen behind closed doors, between people who already understand the language of wealth. Now, before you think this is one of those too good to be true stories, let me interrupt you for just a second. If pennies were worthless, the US Mint wouldn't spend millions making them. And if collectors weren't paying serious money, auction houses wouldn't exist. Funny how the smallest coin causes the biggest arguments at the cash register, yet quietly commands six figures in the collector market. Irony has a sense of humor, doesn't it? As demand grew, so did the numbers. Verified examples of this 2016 Lincoln penny error began appearing in private transactions and high-end auctions, with valuations climbing rapidly. Today, the most pristine, authenticated specimens are commanding market values reported as high as $765,000. Let that settle in. That's not theoretical money. That's real capital moving hands, driven by scarcity, authenticity, and one thing above all else, demand from buyers who are never affected by recessions. Is where urgency enters the picture. Because here's what most people don't realize: the window for discovery is closing. Every year, more of these pennies are pulled from circulation, graded, locked away in vaults, and removed from the open market forever. Supply shrinks. Demand grows. Prices rise. That's not hype, that's economics. And the people who hesitate are the ones who later say, "I used to have one of those." Think about this. How many jars, boxes, rolls, or inherited collections are sitting untouched in American homes right now? How many people assume pennies are irrelevant in a digital world? That assumption is exactly why opportunities like this exist. Fear keeps people from looking. Excitement keeps collectors searching. And urgency rewards those who act while others scroll past. Now let me reset your attention with a simple thought. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own has already passed through your hands, and the only thing missing was awareness? That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Because once you understand what makes this coin special, you move from guessing to knowing. And knowledge changes behavior. Is about transformation. This is where the story stops being about a penny and starts being about you. Selling a rare coin like this isn't about getting lucky. It's about positioning yourself correctly in a high-demand market where serious buyers compete for verified rarity. People who sell these coins don't negotiate from desperation, they negotiate from leverage. They understand grading, authentication, timing. And most importantly, they understand that wealth favors those who recognize value early. Imagine the shift that happens when an overlooked coin turns into financial freedom. Debt erased. Options expanded. A lifestyle no longer defined by limits, but by choice. That's not fantasy, that's the real outcome collectors pursue every day. And it starts with something as simple as looking twice at what you already own. Now here's the truth most people never hear. Rare coins don't advertise themselves. They wait. They sit quietly while the world rushes by. And the people who benefit are the ones who slow down long enough to notice. The 2016 USA No Mint Mark Lincoln penny error is in high demand right now, not because of hype, but because the market understands exactly how rare it is, and exactly how few opportunities remain. So before you dismiss this, before you assume it couldn't possibly apply to you, take a moment. Ask yourself why wealthy collectors are aggressively searching for what others ignore. Ask yourself why prices continue climbing while supply disappears. And ask yourself this final question: if a single penny could change everything, wouldn't it be worth taking a closer look? Imagine this for a moment. You reach into a drawer, a jar, maybe even an old coffee can that's been sitting quietly in your home for years. Inside are pennies you've never thought twice about. But what if I told you that one of those pennies, yes, a single 1-cent coin, could be worth up to $896,000 right now in today's collector market? Not someday. Not maybe. Right now. And before you laugh or roll your eyes, let me ask you something uncomfortable. How many fortunes have been thrown away because someone assumed it's just a penny? This is not a story about luck. This is a story about knowledge, timing, and a very specific coin that has experts, collectors, and investors watching closely: the 2017 D-Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin with a rare error. A modern penny. Not ancient. Not gold. Not silver. And that's exactly why so many people missed it. Because opportunity rarely announces itself wearing a crown. Begins in 2017, at the Denver Mint, where millions of Lincoln pennies were struck during what appeared to be an ordinary production year. Nothing unusual. No headlines. No fanfare. And yet, hidden among those millions were a handful of coins that slipped past quality control, coins with striking errors so rare, so perfectly imperfect, that they rewrote the rulebook for modern penny values. This is where fear quietly enters the room. Because every year that passes means more of these coins are lost, spent, damaged, or forgotten. And every loss drives demand higher. Now here's the part most people don't realize. Error coins are not flaws. In the numismatic world, they are artifacts of history. They are frozen moments where machinery, timing, and metal collided in a way that will never happen again. The 2017 D penny error is one of those moments. Collectors didn't notice it immediately. Dealers didn't advertise it loudly. It circulated quietly, passed from hand to hand, while a few sharp eyes recognized what others ignored. And those early finders? They're not working overtime anymore. Let's interrupt for a second. Quick question. If someone offered you $896,000 for something you already own, would you at least want to know before you accidentally spend it at a gas station? Exactly. Because that has already happened. More than once. And that thought alone should make you pause. Is where excitement takes over. As collectors began identifying the unique characteristics of this 2017 D error penny, subtle doubling, unusual die anomalies, and striking inconsistencies, the market responded fast. Auction houses took notice. Private collectors competed. Prices climbed. Not gradually. Aggressively. And suddenly, a modern penny entered a category reserved for elite error coins that almost never appear in public sales. The current market value, reaching as high as $896,000, is not about hype. It's about scarcity colliding with demand at the exact wrong time for anyone who doesn't own one yet. This is where urgency tightens its grip. Because markets don't wait. Coins like this don't become more common. They disappear into vaults, collections, and estates. And once they're locked away, the door closes behind them. If you're watching this right now, you're early compared to the general public, but late compared to the insiders. And that's still a powerful position to be in. And now let's talk lifestyle, because this is not just about a coin. It's about what knowledge can unlock. Financial freedom doesn't always arrive through years of grinding. Sometimes it shows up disguised as a copper coin you've underestimated your entire life. The people who understand this don't brag. They move quietly. They verify. They authenticate. And they sell at the right moment. That's how wealth actually works. Another quick reset. Humor me for a second. If pennies were worthless, why would the US government still make them? Exactly. Because value isn't decided by face value. It's decided by context. And context is everything in collectibles. Is where clarity and authority take the stage. If you own pennies from 2017, especially those with a D mint mark, you are holding a potential asset, not spare change. The difference between a 1-cent coin and a 6-figure collectible comes down to details so small most people never look. That's why professional evaluation matters. That's why timing matters. And that's why hesitation can be expensive. This market is active. Serious buyers are searching. Demand is not slowing. And the window for sellers who recognize what they have is open, but it will not stay open forever. Wealth favors the informed, not the hopeful. And history shows that the biggest regrets don't come from taking action, they come from realizing too late that you already had what others were searching for. So here's the real question as we close. Will your 2017 D Lincoln penny remain a forgotten coin, or will it become the asset that changes how you see money forever? Because opportunity doesn't knock loudly. Sometimes, it sits quietly in your pocket, waiting for you to finally pay attention. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, just 1 cent. The same kind you toss into a jar, leave on a dresser, or ignore on the sidewalk. Now imagine discovering that this 1 penny could be worth up to $897,000. Not someday. Not in theory. But right now, in today's market. Before you brush this off, let me ask you a question that might change how you see money forever. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny before spending it? If your answer is never, you're not alone, and that's exactly why this story matters. This is the story of the 2018 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a modern penny hiding an extraordinary error that has stunned collectors, investors, and auction houses across the United States. And what makes this story even more powerful is not just the money, it's the realization that life-changing wealth sometimes hides in the most ordinary places. Pockets. Drawers. Coffee cans. Even between your couch cushions. Yes, really. Somewhere out there, someone is unknowingly sitting on a fortune, and today, that someone could be you. In 2018, the Denver Mint struck billions of Lincoln pennies. Billions. That number alone should tell you something. No one expected anything special. These coins flooded circulation, passed through gas stations, grocery stores, and vending machines without a second glance. But buried among them was a microscopic mistake, an error so rare and so precise that it escaped detection at the mint itself. And when that happens, collectors pay attention. Serious attention. This particular 2018 D penny error didn't announce itself loudly. It didn't sparkle. It didn't look like gold. It quietly slipped into circulation, blending in with coins worth exactly 1 cent. That's the terrifying part. The fear isn't that you'll never find one. The fear is that you already had one, and spent it on coffee. Now here's the moment where most people stop listening. They say, that kind of thing never happens to me. And that belief is exactly why wealth transfers hands quietly, from the uninformed to the informed. Coin collectors don't find rare coins because they're lucky. They find them because they're paying attention. And right now, attention is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. When this 2018 D Lincoln penny error was first authenticated, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic world. Experts confirmed that this wasn't damage. This wasn't wear. This was a genuine mint error, one that should never have left the Denver Mint. The kind of error that collectors dream about and investors chase aggressively. Demand exploded. Auction houses whispered. Private buyers made quiet offers. And the market did what markets always do when supply is nearly zero and demand is global. It surged. Today, documented examples of this specific error penny have reached valuations approaching $897,000, and interest has not slowed down. In fact, it's accelerating. Why? Because high net worth collectors understand something most people don't: modern error coins are the next frontier. The old treasures are locked away in vaults. The new ones are still hiding in plain sight. Here's a humorous thought to reset your attention for a second. What if the most expensive thing in your house isn't your TV, your car, or your jewelry, but a penny stuck in a junk drawer next to expired batteries? Funny? Yes. Possible? Absolutely. This is where excitement replaces disbelief. Because once you realize that value is not about age, but about rarity and error, the entire game changes. People think $1 million coins have to be ancient. They don't. They just have to be wrong in exactly the right way. And here's the urgent truth: as awareness spreads, opportunities shrink. Every day, more people check their change. Every day, fewer of these coins remain undiscovered. Markets reward early movers, not late skeptics. So now we arrive at the moment that separates curiosity from action. You can treat this as entertainment, or you can treat it as information that may directly impact your financial future. Because the reality is simple and undeniable: the demand for rare and authenticated US penny errors has never been higher, and serious buyers are actively looking to acquire them right now. But if you are between 30 and 65, living in the United States, and you've handled pennies your entire life, then statistically speaking, you are closer to this opportunity than you think. This isn't about gambling. This isn't about hype. This is about understanding what the wealthy already know: assets don't always look valuable until the market decides they are. Ask yourself this: what does it cost you to look? Nothing. But what could it cost you not to? Possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's not fear-based thinking. That's reality-based thinking. The most powerful people don't wait for permission. They recognize moments of imbalance, when information moves faster than action, and they move decisively. The 2018 D Lincoln penny error represents one of those moments. A quiet window. A narrow window. And windows, as you know, don't stay open forever. Right now, somewhere in America, someone is holding a penny that will change their life the moment they recognize it for what it truly is. The only question left is this: will that person be you, or the person who unknowingly hands it away? Stay alert. Stay curious. And most importantly, never underestimate the power of a single cent. Most people think pennies are worthless. In fact, most Americans walk past them every single day, ignore them in jars, drop them on sidewalks, or leave them behind at cash registers without a second thought. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking Lincoln penny minted in the year 2020 has stunned the coin market, triggered bidding wars among elite collectors, and reached a current market value of $786,000? Yes, nearly $750,000 for a single 1-cent coin. And here's the uncomfortable question that should instantly grab your attention. What if you already own one and don't even know it? This story doesn't begin in a vault or a museum. It begins in the pockets, drawers, and forgotten coin jars of everyday Americans. In 2020, during one of the most chaotic and uncertain years in modern U.S. history, the Denver Mint struck Lincoln 1-cent coins marked with a small letter that most people never notice, the D Mint mark. Millions of these coins were produced, but a tiny fraction were born different. Something went wrong during the minting process, and that mistake created what seasoned collectors call a perfect storm error, an error so rare, so visually striking, and so historically significant that it instantly separated itself from every other penny in circulation. Now, let's pause for a second, because this is usually where people say, yeah right, another coin story. Fair enough. If pennies were that valuable, wouldn't everyone be rich by now? That's the joke, and also the trap. Because wealth in rare coins doesn't come from owning many pennies. It comes from owning the right one. And the 2020 D Lincoln cent error is one of the most aggressively hunted modern US coins in existence today. Here's where the fear kicks in, because while most people are scrolling their phones or watching reruns, professional coin buyers, private collectors, and auction houses are quietly paying massive sums to acquire these coins. They are being removed from the market one by one. Every time one disappears into a private collection, the remaining supply becomes even more valuable. And once they're gone, they're gone. No reminting. No second chances. No, I'll check later. This is not speculation. This is how scarcity creates wealth. The specific error that drives this coin's extraordinary value involves a combination of striking anomalies, details that the untrained eye might miss, but experts recognize instantly. These include dramatic die doubling, off-center strikes, distorted Lincoln features, and mint mark abnormalities that should never exist together on the same coin. When authenticated and graded at elite levels, these pennies stop being pocket change and start being financial assets. Assets that compete with luxury watches, fine art, and real estate in private markets. And here's the exciting part: this is not ancient history. This is not a coin from the 1800s locked away in a museum. This coin is modern. It's recent. It's something that could still be sitting in circulation, in a roll from the bank, or in a coffee can inherited from a parent or grandparent. That's why collectors are nervous. That's why buyers are aggressive. And that's why prices have surged to the $786,000 level for confirmed, top-tier examples. Let me ask you something: have you ever thrown away a penny? Of course you have. We all have. And suddenly that harmless habit doesn't feel so harmless anymore, does it? That uncomfortable feeling right there, that's awareness turning into opportunity. Now we move into the second act of this story, where excitement takes over. Because when people discover they're holding something rare, something powerful, something that can change their financial reality, everything shifts. This is where ordinary Americans, retirees, workers, small business owners have stepped into an entirely different lifestyle simply by recognizing what they already owned. The rare coin market doesn't care about your background. It doesn't care about your education. It only cares about authenticity, condition, and scarcity. And the 2020 D Lincoln penny error checks all three boxes with authority. Collectors want these coins not just for profit, but for legacy. This penny represents a historic year, a modern minting anomaly, and a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Demand is not coming from hobbyists alone. It's coming from high-net-worth individuals who understand tangible assets and want something exclusive, something that can't be duplicated, something that quietly appreciates while the rest of the world argues about inflation. And here's a little humor to reset your attention. Imagine telling someone you built wealth from a penny. Not crypto. Not stocks. A penny. That's the kind of story people never forget. As we enter the final act, urgency takes center stage. Markets move. Windows close. And rare coins follow cycles just like real estate and gold. The difference is this: once these coins are locked away, values don't dip. They climb. The longer you wait to identify, authenticate, or sell, the more control shifts away from you and toward professional buyers who already know exactly what they're looking for. This is not about hype. This is about positioning. If you own a 2020 Lincoln Penny, especially one with unusual details, this is the moment to act with confidence and intelligence. The people who profit most in rare coin markets are not the ones who rush blindly, but they also aren't the ones who hesitate while opportunity passes quietly by. Wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, disguised as something ordinary, waiting for the right person to recognize its value. And today, that person could be you. So before you dismiss that jar of pennies, before you hand them back to the bank, before you assume they're worth exactly 1 cent, remember this story. Remember that in the United States, at this very moment, a single Lincoln penny has reached a value of $786,000, and demand continues to rise. History favors those who pay attention, because sometimes, the smallest things carry the biggest fortunes, and the difference between staying where you are and stepping into a wealthier lifestyle is simply knowing what to look for.